Hi there. Welcome to Small Business Coffee Break, the weekly video series where we take a few minutes to work on your business, not just in it. This week, Oscar Valdes, rockstar real estate agent with KW Commercial, describes different kinds of leases and what we should know so we're not surprised midway through the lease. So grab a cup of coffee and let's get into it. What are some things that people should look for in their commercial leases when they're coming in, right? So now, I know how you run. I know one of the reasons that I do business with you is because I can trust pretty much everything that comes out of your mouth, except when you're talking about fishing. So
Should've seen the one I got last week.
I see. There we go. Other than that, but there's we talked about some things like the termination clauses or relocation clauses. What are some things as a tenant that maybe I should be concerned about that I don't quite know about that I should look for in my leases? Net leases versus gross.
Okay. Well, there's different types of leases, as you know. There you have, generally speaking, it's gross lease, which is where the owner pays for all of the expenses. All you pay is the rent. Those generally have some things in it that can affect you, namely things you agree upon, like the increases, yearly increases in the rent. But you got to be careful because they generally have also clauses that state that if you have an increase in your taxes, in your real estate taxes, that they're going to pass that through to you. So what happens there, and this is true of all of them, you have gross leases, you have modified gross lease, which is the same, but you pay some of the things. It could be electricity, very common, and the owner pays for everything else. Or you can have a net lease, which is like an association where the owner has a budget, an operating budget for the building. Any expense that happens in the building, paint, electrical, updates to the building, taxes, insurance, anything at all goes into that budget, and it gets divided amongst the tenants. Okay, you have your base rent, and then you have your
operating expenses.
Operating expenses.
Budget, right.
It's called CAM. They call it CAM is short for common area maintenance.
Okay.
Okay. So what happens is, and the things you got to look for in all of them. Okay, if it's a net lease, you got to look at that operating budget and you got to scrutinize it. Make sure that there's not a lot of variables in the budget.
Right. Nothing that they could, that you may be able to catch and say, oh, this may double next year, and I may be responsible for.
Correct. And you got to look for it in all of them. But the biggest thing that I would, if I'm giving you any advice or if I'm consulting you on signing a lease, the biggest thing you got to be careful with is the real estate taxes, because a lot of the leases that have that. What happens is you have a lot of buildings being traded in Miami, especially, or anywhere, but there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of velocity, if you will, in purchasing and selling. What happens? The building has been owned for 10 years, 15 years, and even though they do reassess, the county does reassess the building on a yearly basis, it never really is in tune with the market. What happens is the building gets sold, and they get reassessed at the value of the sale. Could be double. The new owner is going to take that new tax bill, knock on your door, and say, "Surprise!
Here you go.
Here you go.
You rented half my building. You got to pay half this. You got to pay half this
of the difference. And it could be significant. It could be significant.
Half, a large portion of this building, for instance, is an office building with 4 stories, right? So I take up a small space, but I know that one of these is an entire floor. So literally in that situation, they would be responsible for 1/4,
of course,
of whatever that increase in annual, and from then on too.
Correct.
We're not talking about 1 year. We're talking about this is your new rent.
Correct. And if you have CAM, if you're in a building that is a net lease building and you have CAM, you change insurance carriers and they go to you. You're going to save them money. That's great. But if they go to somebody else, they're going to charge them more. That's going to get passed on to you. These are the things you got to be very wary of when you're looking at your lease. This is probably the number one thing that can affect you from a financial perspective.
Right. If you want to contact Oscar, I put his contact information in the description. Or if you have any questions that you'd like me to ask a professional, please leave a comment below. Thank you.